If you are anything like me, then you probably love the Legend of Zelda series. You have probably played through a good chunk of the Zelda games, and you might currently be in the middle of a Tears of the Kingdom playthrough like I am right now. But what if you have played through all the mainline Zelda games? What if you have finished Tears of the Kingdom and are looking for another game to scratch that Zelda itch you have? Well, I have good news for you, as that's where indie games come in. There are many indie games out there that have been inspired by the Legend of Zelda games, old and new. So in this video, I'm going to showcase some of the best indie games that play like Zelda. Eastward. Eastward is an RPG that follows the story of John and Sam. The two happily live together in an underground village until one day when they are told about the dangers of the outside world away from their village. Sam doesn't believe it though, and due to some certain events which I won't spoil, both Sam and John end up on a train which takes them to the outside world that is always travelling eastward. You'll be travelling to a variety of towns on your journey and meeting a lot of different characters. There are also dungeons you will find where you'll be facing many combat encounters, solving some puzzles, and taking on epic boss fights. You will also be taking some time to do some cooking, with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom inspired cooking mechanics being present within this game, and there are plenty of minigames you will come across on your adventure too. There is a ton of stuff to do on your 20-hour adventure. Eastward can get pretty story heavy at times, but it manages to take the exploration, action, and puzzle elements of the Zelda games and merge them perfectly with the depth and narrative of an RPG. This game doesn't just take inspiration from Zelda though, as there are also gameplay elements present here from Earthbound, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest. Eastward is definitely a game worth checking out. Death's Door. In Death's Door, you take on the role of an adorable little crow who is working for the Reaper Commission headquarters as a Reaper. Your job is to locate beings who refuse to die, kill them, and harvest their souls. You'll be exploring a beautiful bleak world and taking part in tricky Souls-like combat. Yes, the combat in this game is very challenging. You have melee and ranged weapons at your disposal, as well as some magic powers, but you're going to need some super quick reaction times to slash, aim, and dodge your way to victory. There is plenty of enemy variety here, including bosses which will definitely put you to the test. Death's Door is essentially Zelda meets Dark Souls, so if you enjoy a good challenge, then you will get a lot of enjoyment out of Death's Door. I absolutely adore this game. Did you see what I did there? Minit. Minit plays like your traditional old school Zelda game, except with a simple twist. Your character will die every 60 seconds. When you do die, you will wake back up in your bed retaining all the items you have collected, and you will then have another 60 seconds to try and make some more progress before you die again and the loop continues. Your main goal is to try and break the 60-second curse that is causing your death. Along the way though, you'll be meeting characters, finding items, battling enemies, discovering new respawn points, and maybe uncovering a secret or two within this black and white world, all within 60 seconds at a time. If you like your old school Zelda games, then you will certainly enjoy your time with Minit. A Short Hike. In this game, you play as Claire, a little bird on holiday in a place known as Hawk's Peak. Your quest within this game is simple. Climb the mountain to reach some phone signal. Yes, it's that simple, but as you journey up the mountain, you will come across many different distractions. There are the main collectible feathers you will find and come across during your climb, and you'll meet so many charming and endearing characters too. There is a huge emphasis on exploration within this game, and the low poly visuals along with the relaxing music help make this a cute, cozy world to get completely lost in. There are also no sword swinging combat encounters within this game, so you won't have to worry about any threatening foes or evil presence. If you enjoy the exploration elements of the Zelda games, then you will really like this game. Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King. Inspired by The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, you follow the adventures of Lily, who is tasked with saving the Kingdom of Blossom from eternal darkness. The game features 5 challenging dungeons you will be taking on, and within those dungeons, you'll be using special weapons, items, and abilities to solve puzzles and slay your enemies. The game also features beautiful pixelated visuals and familiar gameplay mechanics from the Legend of Zelda series, which makes Blossom Tales feel like a traditional old school SNES game. If you are an old school Zelda fan, then you will feel right at home here. Moonlighter. In Moonlighter, you play as a shopkeeper. During the day, you are selling your goods and managing your shop, but at night, you explore mysterious Zelda-like dungeons, fight challenging enemies, and find more loot to sell at your shop. The further you explore in the dungeons, the harder the enemies get, but the more valuable loot you can find. The money you gain from selling your loot can be used for expanding your shop, allowing you to sell more goods, and for purchasing better weapons which will allow you to explore deeper into the dungeons. The gameplay loop is incredibly addicting, and you can easily get sucked into this game for hours. I should also mention the gorgeous pixel art on display within this game, as well as the excellent soundtrack to complement the whole thing. It's definitely definitely worth giving your attention to Moonlighter. Hyper Light Drifter. Here's another game featuring some stunning pixel art visuals. Taking inspiration from the old school 2D Zelda games, Hyper Light Drifter has you exploring this beautiful world whilst fighting enemies in the most stylish way possible. You play as a drifter who is trying to find a cure for the illness they are suffering from. Along your adventure, you'll be discovering new equipment, upgrading your weapons, and learning some new skills too. And in true Zelda-like fashion, you'll be uncovering many secrets in this world. It's a stylish and challenging game that I'm sure you will fall in love with. Hob. This is a gorgeous Zelda-like puzzler with some combat elements thrown into the mix. The world you explore feels like one big puzzle for you to solve, and the game doesn't hold your hand either, as you are left to figure out things for yourself, but you are left with enough subtle hints to solve these puzzles and work out where to go and what you need to do next. On the action combat side of things, the combat feels fast and fluid, and the controls feel tight and responsive. You have plenty of moves you can use within combat, such as basic sword swinging, dodge rolling, or charging up your fist for a super punch. I also love the art direction the developers took with this game, as the visuals of this game are stunning and pretty unique. If you enjoy the puzzle solving elements of the Zelda games, you will have a great time playing Hob and soaking in its delightful atmosphere. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. When you boot up this game, you are greeted with a letter telling you to pay your taxes. What do? Well, you rip it up and commit tax evasion, of course. In this game, you play as Turnip Boy, and you set out on a quest to make back all the money that you owe by committing plenty of other crimes, including more tax evasion. You'll be helping out your other fruit and vegetable friends with their quests as well, by growing plants, exploring dungeons, solving puzzles, taking on bosses, and ripping up plenty of tax documents. It is a pretty short game, with it only taking around 2 to 3 hours to beat, but it's one of the funniest games I've ever played thanks to the incredible writing, and it's one of my favourite games on this list. Ittle Dew and Ittle Dew 2 Plus. These two games very closely mimic Zelda's style, and they are both very cute and charming. In both games, you'll be taking control of Ittle and Tipsy, who are both sailing the seas until a storm hit them which caused them to crash on an unfamiliar island. Armed with only a stick at hand, you'll need to find a way to get off the island. You'll be fully exploring the unfamiliar island and will come across various loot, enemies, and dungeons. Both games have absolutely adorable visuals on display, with Ittle Dew being a 2D game, while Ittle Dew 2 Plus goes for a cute 3D art style. There is also a charming sense of humour within both of these games too. Ittle Dew and Ittle Dew 2 Plus are great recommendations if you want to play something that's just plain cute. Cadence of Hyrule. This is a special game on this list because this is actually a Zelda game, but it's developed by an indie studio. Developed by the same team that made Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule is a roguelike dungeon crawler rhythm game where you will move and attack to the beat of the music. You have the choice of playing between Link or Zelda, and your task is to rescue the princess's father, who has been imprisoned in his castle by the musician Octavio. You do this by traversing the overworld to find and defeat 4 champions in order to break a seal and return the kingdom to normal. You'll be battling many familiar enemies from the Legend of Zelda series in time with the music. At first, the game can seem pretty difficult, especially since every enemy has a different attack pattern for you to learn, but once you are in the groove, you will be easily destroying any enemies you come across. The overworld for this game is also randomly generated, which helps to add replay value to the game, as you can see if you are able to clear the game again in a quicker time on a second or maybe even a third playthrough. And since this is a rhythm game, we have to talk about the soundtrack, as holy every track in here is a banger. Over 25 Zelda tracks from across the series have been remixed for this game, and each one is a treat to listen to. It's not often you see Nintendo handing out their IPs to indie developers, so this is a truly special game. If you haven't played Cadence of Hyrule yet, then check it out, as it's well worth your time, as it's not just a fantastic game, it's a fantastic Zelda game. Tunic. Tunic takes huge inspiration from the Zelda games. I mean, the cute main fox character of the game wears a green tunic that resembles the iconic green tunic Link wears. And the similarities to the Zelda games don't stop there, as Tunic will have you solving plenty of puzzles and you'll be fighting many challenging enemies, including some powerful bosses too. I've actually already spoken a bit about Tunic in one of my previous videos already on this channel, so if you want to learn more about Tunic and why I love this game, then click on this video to find out.